Yeah! Get up!
Welcome to the Obstacle Racing Media Podcast with Matt B. Davis.
With over 300 episodes since 2012, Matt has produced the most consistent podcast in OCR.
Each episode, Matt speaks with race directors, athletes, and industry insiders to bring you the most in-depth interviews and conversations in the world of obstacle racing,
adventure runs, and ultra marathons. If you have small children nearby, now is the time to put on some headphones
or send them off to watch Phineas and Ferb, as there are occasionally four-letter words,
which are not bleeps. Now, here is your host.
Now here is your goddamn host.
Now here's your host, fucking Matt B. Davis.
Good day, everyone. It's Friday evening. It's January 4th. I had a call today earlier with David Watson of Spartan. I've been waiting to have this call. And ladies and gentlemen, this is as much info, I think, or clarity as we've ever gotten. And you know me, I'm not one for hyperbole, that we've ever gotten from Spartan in one go. Now, if you watch the video I already put out, that's great. It's about a 3-minute version of mostly just the qualification stuff. But we also went into pro team and some other items. I'm talking really quickly because I want to get this up to you right now. We're doing no ads. We're doing no outro even. This is one of those that I'm just going to give you the cold hard facts. It's about a 58-minute conversation, maybe 55. And the first part's a little rough, but I think that's fine. I think that's good. I think it's good for you to hear us find our way as we discovered how this is going to work. So enjoy. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. You're going to learn a lot. Away we go.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Matt. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. You're a day ahead of me already. You're in the 5th of January, aren't you?
I'm in the future. I have so much more to tell you. Some amazing things happen between your time and now.
Is obstacle racing in the Olympics yet? That's amazing.
You should see. I can't give it away, but it's exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you quickly tell people what your actual title is?
Okay, so I'm Vice President of Product, and that's probably very vague, but it's because the role is so diverse. Everything to do with the customer experience. But if you've been to a Spartan event, which hopefully you have, that's everything from the way the festival looks, to the obstacles, to the rules of the sport, to the championships, customer service. Just myriad things. So it's a busy team.
So that's a lot, and it seems like it's an awful lot for one person.
That's why it's 1:20 in the morning here, and I'm talking to you.
I would never talk to me at 1:20 in the morning.
You make me feel energized, Matt.
So specifically, so people know, and I understand your role is probably a lot behind the scenes, but around the sport stuff, you did have someone that was the face of it in Joe DI. So I assume you doing that job in itself would be a full-time job. So my guess is that you're looking to replace that role. You're sort of doing it in the meantime, along with everything customer facing, festival, customer experience, the specific sport part that we're talking about here.
Yeah. The sport part is a huge thing, and the word sport, I really I'm sort of moving away from using that term, because everything we do is the sport. And no matter who you are, whether you're an open category racer, age group, or an elite, you're part of this sport, and this sport has grown over the 8-10 years that Spartan's been doing this. So it's sort of synonymous with everything we do. It's a huge strategic priority for us to grow this globally, grow participation, grow the rewards for those that are doing this as a job. Or want to do it as a job, grow it for kids, and then of course help people who just want to get fit and have fun, and help them do that too. So the sport is so diverse that it's really everything we do. And in terms of your first point, yes, Jody, I moved on. He did such an awesome job with us, and he's moved on to some different opportunities. But we're sort of shuffling around our resources and adding different layers of resources for this, and it's going to be stronger than ever. So there's a really exciting 2019 coming up for that.
Well, that's great. And, essentially what I'm saying is I don't want to have to ring you every time there's a question.
I'll be awake, so go for it.
I mean, we're still so new. I can't express that enough to people. We're not a 30-year-old sport. We're not a 50-year-old sport. We're a 7 or 8-year-old sport. And even the last 6 have been more serious than the first 2. So rules questions and qualifications questions, they seem to constantly arise. And I give you guys a lot of credit. You're moving 1 million miles an hour. You're trying to grow all over the world. So I do give you some slack, and I still have to call you out when something's missing or the community is saying, hey, that's BS.
Yeah. And I personally will say that I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that, if you call it out, then that's something we can respond to. And if we've made an error or we've failed in an area, we'll address it. I'm not saying that everything's perfect as we build a sport. We're doing things that most sports don't get a chance to do. Like if you work at the NFL, you don't make up a lot of new things. I mean, sure, there's a lot of innovation always happening in mainstream sport, but at our stage of growth, as you say, in 6 years, so much change. I mean, just in the last 2 years, this global championship series that we've created is something we've never done before. As we go into 2019, we're doing more things we've never done before. The introduction of the age group category in 2018 was a huge change. So we're making history every week, and we're doing it with people like yourself, Matt, on the journalism side, and we're doing it with everybody listening who is participating. And so together we're sort of creating something that I hope will be around for as long as marathon has been around and further. So that's
all right.
the goal.
Well, so let's get to, I think, the most confusing current item, which is qualifications for Tahoe. So I'm going to break down what I think the qualification is, and then you can clarify.
No problem. No problem. I wrote the document, so hopefully I don't confuse myself.
So if I want to qualify as an elite or age group racer for Tahoe Sunday, I need to show up and finish in a certain manner in 5 United States Championship Series races and or the West Virginia race. Those are the only ways I get to Tahoe.
Yep. That's the only way you get to Tahoe. So the difference, Matt, is that in 2018, you would show up to, let's use the US as an example here, but it applies for the whole world. You would show up to one of the races at the US National Series. And if you're an elite, you would finish in the top 10. And you would get your spot at that race at the World Championship. So if you got that at the first race, you could ostensibly not race anymore. Although that would be silly because you would miss a lot of prize money opportunities, and other opportunities for sponsors and all those sorts of things. But this year in 2019, it's different. So the way that you qualify for Tahoe, whether you're an elite or age grouper, is based on the final leaderboard of the series. So let's use the US National Series again as an example. It's a 5-race series. After the 5th and final race, the leaderboard is set. After, of course, penalties and things have applied and all the officiating's done. The final leaderboard is what determines the spots for the World Championship, starting with the first placed athlete and then going right through off 70 spots for the US National Series. And then the same applies for the championship. So for the North American Championship, European, South American, and so on, the final leaderboard of that one race will determine which athletes earn their spots at the World Championship.
So I need to finish in the top 70 points-wise to make it.
Correct.
Okay, I didn't even know that part. I thought you just finished in the top 10 in any one of those races, any one of those 5.
No, so that was the system in 2018. So in 2019, it's the sum of correct.
Which, by the way, right. So you've created a series, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, it follows other sports.
We've created a series. That follows other sports. It's like you and I were talking offline earlier about Formula One. Now I know this sport is not very popular in the United States.
Yes, definitely something that every American knows about is the history of
Formula One. Let's use IndyCar.
Jackie Stewart.
Jackie, right. For no idea, you know.
Nobody under the age of 40 listening to this podcast knows who Jackie Stewart is.
Well, I'm under the age of 40. I'm close, but those of you that do know, we can share a little laugh.
Google Jackie Stewart.
Google Jackie Stewart. Yeah, you need to do it for your sporting education, but but basically, final standings in most sports are what determines, who takes the cake. So this is pretty much what we're doing.
Okay, so 1 through 70, is that elite? And then what about age group?
Age group, I'm going to have to, you've put me on the spot here and I'm walking around at 1:30 in the morning, but you can post in your show notes or I'll pull up the document in front of me. But for each age group, I'll have to come back to you, man. But basically, the final leaderboards determine that for age group.
Here's the question that somebody brought out, that somebody said to me, there are 2 different numbers currently online. Something about there's only a maximum amount that contradicts another place that you say the top whatever. Like if there's only 200 spots per age group or something.
Yep.
Before you answer that, let's answer this. Let's talk about the ones that matter the most. So Josh Chase, co-host a weekly show that we do together here, said, Matt, 13 to 17, there's not going to be 200 of those people. Why not give a few of those spots over to an age group that needs it, like a 30 to a 39?
Yeah, well, okay. So if you look at the number of spots awarded to age groups, for example, at the final leaderboard of the US National Series, you'll see that if you do the math, okay, let me back up for a sec. Let me make one statement for people listening that don't know the numbers. There are 1,000 spots for age groupers at the World Championship for male age groupers and 1,000 spots for female age groupers. That equals 100 spots per age group, okay? Because there are 10 age groups in 2019. So for those of you listening that don't know, we've added 40 to 44, 45 to 49, 50 to 54, 55 to 59, and 60 plus. And there's been a lot of happy people about that. So each of these groups get 100.
I'm making notes, by the way.
2,000 in total.
That's why I'm looking down, just so you know I'm making notes. Keep going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there are 2,000 spots for age groupers now. Okay, so somebody made a comment to you that why don't you apportion more to one age group or another? And it is correct that there are different participation rates for different age groups, but you can never predict fully what's going to happen throughout the season. And then what I was saying before is if you do your math, you'll actually see that the number of spots awarded is actually slightly oversubscribed to the number of spots that are going to be handed out at the World Championship. So it's like, someone said to me the other day, it's like, like when you plan a wedding, for those of you that are married, you invite more guests than you sort of afford to show up. And so the World Championship number of spots will actually go out to more age groupers and will race on a day. So
because people will cancel or get hurt or whatever.
People will cancel or get hurt, and we want to make sure that that the maximum number of athletes are able to get an opportunity to qualify and race there.
Okay, so if I want to qualify for Tahoe on Sunday, I need to finish in the total 100 in my age group.
Yep.
For the year in that series.
Yeah.
And for elite, it's 70.
Yeah. So there are different numbers, and these will be published on Spartan.com. But basically, let's go through the numbers. So for the national and regional series around the world, and that includes the US National Series, there are different numbers of spots given to different countries and regions for elite and age groupers. So for the US, there are 70 spots awarded for the for the North American Regional Championship, and there are 80 spots for the US National Series. Now that's for the elites. I'm just talking US here. So there are different numbers that are going to be given to other regions. 30 spots will be given, for example, for the European Championship for the elites there. Now, if we want to talk about age group, the final leaderboards for age groups also determine who will make it through to the World Championship. And for the US, all age groups will have 30 spots allocated after the US National Series is complete. And then after the championships, all age groups will be awarded 40 spots from the North American Championship.
Okay. So now you've lost me. Okay. So and let's and I realize you are growing a global brand, and so it's important to talk about it a little bit. But since this audience could mostly care less about what happens in Europe.
Okay, no problem.
I know that you aren't. It's like CrossFit, right? They're trying to grow this worldwide thing. It can't just be about these people, games, whatever. So I'm getting that. But let's try to stay focused. So the U.S. National Series. You gave me two different numbers.
Yep.
You said 70, and then you said 80.
Right.
So what's 80? So
80 are the number of spots that will be awarded, qualifying spots that will be awarded to elites on the final leaderboard of the U.S. National Series.
And you figure you're going to end up with about 70 for no-shows. That's what you're saying.
Sorry, I need to make a correction on the start of of our discussion. So I said 70. I flipped around my numbers because I wasn't looking at my laptop like I am now. So there are 70 for the North American Championship for elites, and there are 80 spots for the national series. Make sense?
No.
So there are 150 spots for elites at the World Championship in total, right?
So wait a minute. You're saying I don't have to do anything in the U.S. Series? I can just show up in West Virginia and earn my spot?
You could if you qualify for it. Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to get a top 10.
Okay. So let's let's
at
back
any
up.
regular season race.
Hang on. All right.
Yeah.
Let's cover U.S. National, then we'll skip to regional. U.S. National Series. I have to finish in the top 70 or top 80 elite men and women for the year.
Top 80 for the series.
Series, and that's elite only. We're talking.
We're only talking elite. Yeah.
Okay, so hang on, because this is good though. This is how the audience will learn with me. 1 through 80 elite men and elite women. Okay.
Correct.
U.S. National Series, or top 100 in your age group, U.S. National Series 5 races.
Not quite. The 100 is the spots, right, Matt, that will be awarded at the end of all of this.
When the
World Championship rolls around, it's 100 spots per age group.
Okay.
So how do you get? Let's use a hypothetical. I'm going to talk elite first for you guys on elite, and then we'll talk age group.
Okay.
So let's just bucket this out. All right. So on Sunday at the World Championship, there's going to be 300 spots in total for elite races. Okay. 300 for men and 300 for women. Okay. Now, half of those spots have been allocated for athletes from the United States. Elite athletes from the United States. 80 plus 70 equals 150, which is half of 300. Okay. So there are 150 spots for American athletes at the World Championship. Now, how do you get one of those spots? You can get it one of two ways. You can race at the US National Series and finish in the top 80 at the end of the whole series. When everything's said and done, you finish in the top 80, you've got a spot. Now, it is possible that you finish 81st and you also get a spot because position 80 said he doesn't want it, okay? And it rolls down.
How and well will we know about that?
As soon as you get a spot, you'll be contacted by Spartan, okay? And Spartan will also make public that leaderboard, okay? So it's in what we call the roll down week. Okay, so this is different than 2018.
This is different than ever before.
There's very different. But those of you that are familiar with, multi-sport athletes out there, and particularly in triathlon, you'll be familiar with roll down ceremonies. This is a week-long process. You got a week. You got 7 days.
7 days to register, or you're out.
Yeah.
Or
you're out. You're going to lose your spot.
Day 8 rolls around. You start emailing the next 80 people. Guess what? Lucky day. You're in.
Lucky day number 81.
You've got how much time to register? A couple of days, maybe?
7 days.
Another 7. Okay. Now this is all great. Okay. So.
All right. So I don't lose my train of thought as it's 20 to 2 a.m. in the morning. We just come. That's why I said 70 before earlier, guys. I'm sorry that I flipped the two numbers, but basically, so we just talked about the US National Series and the 80 spots that'll be given away there. Okay, fine. Now, if for some reason you want to follow Path B to the World Championship, you can. And the way you would do that is you would go to any regular season Spartan event within North America, which means Canada, the US and Mexico, and you would get a top 10 as an elite, which would thus qualify you to race in the gated heat at the North American Championship. And if you finish within the top 70 at the North American Championship, you get a spot, or you'll be offered a spot at the World Championship. Now, remember, it's like, well, why don't I? That's easy. Why don't I do that? Well, number one, you got to get a top 10. That's fine. Okay, fine. Number two, you're now competing against Canadians and Mexican athletes that are also going to be showing up at the North American Championship. Okay. So the pool of athletes and talent is deeper. The number of spots is slightly less. And you only got one shot at it as well. You know, one shot's one race.
I think this makes a lot.
You got 5 shots.
Okay. I think this makes an awful lot of sense. I'm going to repeat back what I think I know.
Oh, good. Because I wrote this with a team over many nights of sitting here at Tahoe.
And we'll see if we can get to yes, 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 as they say on another show. Path A to the World Championships to Tahoe. Mm-hmm. This is elite only. We still haven't even gotten to age group, right? Correct. I'm assuming it's similar.
It's roughly similar, yeah.
Elite athlete. There are 150 American spots, right?
Correct.
150 men, 150 women. To get there, finish in the top 80 in the series, 5 races.
Just pause on that. There's 150 spots. Yes, that's right. For men and 150 spots for women because it's 300 in total for both groups.
80 of those spots will go to you finished in the top 80 for those 5 races. The 5 U.S. Series races.
That's correct.
Or the week of, everybody qualifies, you don't do it, roll down week, the next people get it, and they have a week to figure out their spots. So finish somewhere in the... Okay, got it. Path B.
That's right.
Path B.
Path B.
Any North American race. The one that you like in your neighborhood that you can frickin' cherry pick and none of the big racers show up for, and you always win it or make the podium. Right? Top 10 elite, which qualifies you for West Virginia. You now go to West Virginia, and now you got to finish in the top 70 men or women, but it's much harder. The competition's fierce. There's bigger things in the line, and it's one and done situation.
Correct.
Fantastic. Now that we've covered that only took us until I don't know what minute we're out of this podcast.
Well, this is fun. This is fun stuff. You know, I love talking about this
honestly,
stuff.
This is really good.
Love it. I hope you guys are enjoying this.
Trust me, people will, and they'll thank me, and they'll thank you. Now,
good.
For age group, is everything the same except the actual number, but the paths are the same, but you're just shifting the number?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So the paths are exactly the same. So the final leaderboard of your age group category
is the top
will
100.
Determine. Yeah. So there are 100. So yes, there are 100 spots at the World Championship for each age group category. So in total, that would be 1,000 for men and 1,000 for women, since there are 10 categories in 2019. Instead of before, we were just talking about there were 80 spots for elites after the US National Series. Instead, for age groups, there are 30 spots, okay, for each of the age groups. So if I'm racing 40 to 44 and I come 28th at the end of the US National Series, I'll be offered a spot. Now, I will have the same amount of time to claim that spot with a roll down week as everybody, as the elite system works. And the same sort of rules apply. If I give up that spot, the next athlete gets offered my spot. So ostensibly, people beyond the top 30 can get a spot.
So where does the other 70 come from?
Okay, so the other 70, the other 40, right?
You just said age group has 100. You said each age group.
Yeah, they do. But remember, there are other countries coming to the World Championship.
So the world.
So the US.
The world has 100 spots. The US only gets 30 of those.
The US, the US gets 70 of those. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's be clear for everybody. Let's use the elite example again, where I said there are 300 in total spots at the World Championship for elites. 150 of those were for Americans. So by the same logic, with age groupers, you're going to have 30 spots after the US National Series given away for Americans. And then after the North American Championship, you're going to have another 40 spots given away.
All right. See, this is the problem.
70 in total.
This is where you get in a lot of trouble, right? This is because I keep rewriting this down. So you got to get really good at thinking of, even though you're the global guy, when Americans ask you questions, and hopefully less will.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's okay.
I apologize for thinking so globally, Matt.
Listen,
but hopefully those of you listening, like the two of you that are listening from Europe and Asia Pacific, hopefully smiling.
Listen. There's more people than that, but now I'm going to repeat it again because you've said different numbers multiple times. So I went through that whole elite thing and we got it right. Okay.
Yep.
So now for age group. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The world is given 100 spots, right? Each, right?
Per category,
right?
Mm-hmm.
America gets how many of those through the U.S. point series? 70 or 35?
I never said 35. I think you made that up. I said 30.
30 spots from the series. Okay.
Yeah.
From the U.S.
from the U.S. National National Series.
Okay.
And now 30 plus 40 is 70. So the other 40 comes from the North American. Make sense?
No, because
Okay. All right, my bad. That's my fault.
Okay.
Yeah, you asked me the question. Yeah, go on.
The world has 100. Okay, just stay with me.
Yes, I'm with
U.S. series, right, gets 30 of those, right?
Right.
Okay. Or West Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now
North American Championship.
Right. So how do I qualify for the North American Championship?
You get a top 10 at any regular season race.
Age group.
Yep.
Top 10 age group, any race.
Yep.
And go to West Virginia and finish in the top what?
And in West Virginia, you'll need to finish in the top 40.
Got it.
To earn a spot.
There we go. So now when the rest of the world says, why are you giving America 80% of the elite spots and 70% of the world spots? What do you say to them?
What I say to them is, at the moment in the early stage growth of this sport, it just happens that the majority of talent and participation is in that country. Now it is changing, definitely. I think this year we saw a really interesting spread of countries take part in the big championships. Like the Trifecta World Championship, for example, in Spartan, Greece, had over 50 nationalities represented with some really good athletes. Canadians were on the podium all the time. If you guys were tracking the Team World Championship, and of course Lindsay Webster took the women's elite title at Tahoe in 2018, and Ryan Atkins is right up there. So look, it's there's definitely expansion, but at the moment, in terms of depth of talent and the amount of athletes performing at a high level, the United States is still well and truly providing the most numbers. So that's why it only makes sense to give the most spots to the United States.
Okay. Also, no problem with that. Now, let me ask a question that an audience member might ask.
Sure.
Killington is a really hard race. Why doesn't doing a really hard mountain race qualify me over somebody that finished in their local easy peasy, nobody's at it? And that's great. But
if you're a football fan, and I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm gonna maybe I'll just alienated a lot of people, but I'm Australian, so you can forgive me if you don't like the Patriots. But if I play in a game that's in the snow and it's freezing conditions, and it was an extremely physical game, and I get the same points for the win as the Dolphins got playing down in Miami on a sunny Sunday afternoon. So it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. I mean, if you want to qualify for Tahoe and you want an easy path, you can find races that it will get you a spot at the North American Championship that might be easy in Killington. But that said, there's also some interesting stories out of this path B, because if you take an athlete, let's say there's an athlete, and let's use his name's Matt, and he lives in Southern California. Amazing. His name's Matt. He lives in Southern California, and he's like, you know what? I don't think I can get a spot at the World Championship if I race in the US National Series, but I think I can get a spot by going through Path B. So I'm going to try and get my top 10 by racing in a Mexico race, or I think I've got a chance at a regular season Mexico race to then earn a top 10, and then at least I've got my spot at the North American Championship, which at least gets me another dice roll. So there are these interesting stories that are going to happen, and different ways you can get to the World Championship that, permutations of this.
Well, that is what's happening in CrossFit as well. I'm sure you're well aware. Do you talk to those guys? Do you ever talk to?
Sorry, I know a little.
It's okay. Do you ever talk to Greg Glassman over at CrossFit HQ? Because that's their model is you want to fly to Dubai and try to qualify there, sure, or try to be one of the best Americans.
Absolutely.
But he's making it level. He's saying he's not saying America gets the most. He's saying America is just like Dubai or Kentucky.
Sure.
So anyway, but I'm sure you're out of there.
Well, CrossFit, and when this sport is as big as CrossFit is, I think we'll see a similar situation, right? So, there'll be a lot more even distribution of spots to other countries, but at this stage, we've also got to create a world championship that allows more than a small handful of people to compete, because it's good for the sport, and ultimately it's good for everybody competing and all the athletes, because we need to increase the competition and the sport standard.
Okay, so please tell me that now that we've done this was great. It took two relatively bright guys a long time to get clarity on what I'm going to now explain to the rest of America and the world.
Yes.
Please tell me that you will not announce next year's series at the beginning of 2020 or the end of 2019. Like maybe this summer, you'll let us know where the races are going to be next year or fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe me, we don't sit around and go, let's see how long we can wait before we announce this. It's not, and it's not a function of being disorganized or anything like that. It's a function of, as we said at the start of this chat, a sport growing extremely fast. Believe me, we're all working our butts off, trying to every day make it more and more professional, more and more clear, a standardization around the world better, and stuff like this, information like this out to everybody sooner. I think we've done a good job in the past 12 months of getting more information out to people earlier. Are we there yet in terms of a good cadence on that and plenty of warning? No, but we'll continue to get better, and 2019 we'll have more headroom as well. So,
in terms of roll down week, there was a question about first dibs being given to those people who are at West Virginia and or at the last race in the series. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so basically what that means is, if you're on site at the race, which you should be if it's a national series race, because every race counts, right? If you want to make that top 80 at the US National Series, you need every point you can earn.
I'm seeing a marketing theme.
No, not really, because it's actually. Well, I mean, of course,
honestly,
it's marketable.
Every race counts is better than 4 out of 5, because then we end up with all these weird scenarios where
exactly.
This person's number 6, but they're really 3 because we haven't thrown out their lowest ratio. I kind of like.
Yeah, I find that confusing and boring. I want to see the good athletes race. I want to see them race at every race.
But speaking of that, really quickly interruptly, is the points staying the same in terms of I get 300 for first, 299 for second? That stays the same.
Yeah.
So we're going to know
that system's the same.
So we're going to know going into the last race who the winner is, who the winner could be, and then but does ask the question: are the points extra weighted on the last one in case of ties?
No. In case of ties, they're not. In that case, it'd be a special circumstance, but the weighting is the same for all 5.
So you don't see a possible scenario where these women trade podium spots the whole year, and then it comes down to it could be a 3-way tie or a 2-way tie for second or third, or you're not concerned with that?
No, I'm not concerned with it, and it could definitely happen. But those people will get their spots at the World Championship anyway. And at the fifth and final race, the time of the athletes will obviously determine.
But you have money to give out at those spots as well.
100%, a lot of money. Yeah. So
if you don't weight the races differently, there could be ties at the end of the year. Have you not thought of that? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, sorry, Matt. Sometimes I lose you cutting out, but you got me. Yeah. We definitely think of that. We have a whole timing and technical team devoted to that. So right now, I'm not going to quote the way that we deal with that because I don't have the system in front of me on my computer.
Right.
And I don't want to give you any misinformation, but I'd be happy to send that to you so you can share it with everybody. And I can explain to you how we handle tiebreakers.
Okay, good. That is important. Okay, great.
I'm happy to share that. And we absolutely have that system in place because, as you say, there's more than $500,000 of prize money going out in the US.
So let's now talk about being on site at the end of the U.S. Series and in West Virginia, what it means for Roll Down Week for being on site.
Right. So being on site is just another way to encourage people to move quickly to claim their spot. It's also to encourage people to attend the race. So that we foster the most competition. And then the way that works is, let's say, Matt, you and I are both racing in a series, and Matt, you show up to the fifth race and I don't. You'll be given your first opportunity to sign up for your spot for Tahoe. If I'm in spot number 2, and then let's make up a spot number 3, his name's Jerry. Jerry is also at the race. He'll get first dibs to sign up before I have my ability to sign up. So that's the way that works. What we're going to need to do to make that clear to everybody is we have some infographics coming out, and you'll be able to see exactly how the Roll Down Week works. Because it does get a little bit tricky to just kind of verbalize this. But if for example, like I just said, spot number 2 of 80 declines his spot or her spot, spot number 3 essentially gets offered spot number 2 on the day, right?
Is there? And there's just going to be a big table.
Yep, there'll be. Yeah, you'll be able to register on site. Yeah, at the registration area in the festival. There'll be a team there. And
so if I'm scraping the bottom of that list, it definitely behooves me to show up.
Definitely show up
because So that again, that's smart on your part. So if I'm in that 80 to 100, area, I want to be there because, well, first of all, I have to be there to finish in the points anyway.
Well, I mean, maybe you podiumed first 4 times and you're like, man, this is a shoo-in, which. In that case, it wouldn't really matter anyway because you'd be so high up the list that there would have to be like pretty much everybody else plus the 81st person show up to the race and play the spot on the site.
Right, but if you win every race, you're not going to not show up to the 5th because you still need to win it.
Yeah, of course you need to win it. You want the prize money and you want the series prize money and sponsors want you to show up. So that applies to a very few number of people, but... Yeah.
Okay.
But so you're going to want to put it this way. It's a pretty simple rule, right? Show up to the 5th race. Show up to as many damn races as you can, whether you're an elite or an age grouper, because every race counts. The final leaderboard is what's going to determine whether you get your spot at the World Championship.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say this, David Watson. This is what our sport needs. And because you have a nation, dare I say, of, I think the word is entitled, and they say what you said about, what about this, what about that? It's like, listen, you want to go do a Spartan anywhere in the world, have at it. Have fun, roll in them up with your friends, try to win, play. It's your choice. Like, do whatever you want. We got these races all over the world. If you're in our sport, right, if you were racing for Tahoe, we make the rules. This is how you get there, and it's a very competitive and fair way to do it. So I completely see the logic. I think it does make it, and this is all me just like, not really sleeping on it, so I try not to make too much of sweeping sensational thoughts. But for all the effed up things and I know you haven't been there since day one, but that you, Spartan, have done over the years, and points that make no sense, and various things that whatever, I think you've made it pretty clear. You can do a race anywhere and have at it, and it's great, and it's a good time because you like Spartan race, right? Or you want to be with the big boys. We've laid out these 2 ways to do it. Pick one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I appreciate that summary, Matt. I think it's spot on. And look, like I said at the beginning, the goal is to increase the competition level, the opportunities for everybody, whether you're an elite or an age grouper, and we're building a sport. So to do that, you got to do what we're doing.
2 more things, and then I will let you go to bed or onto your next call, whatever you do at 1 a.m. in Australia. Is there a Spartan Pro team? Who's on it? What does it mean?
Yeah. There's a Spartan Pro roster. So it'll be for the first time we'll be introducing a really truly global pro roster. So the same way that you would look at, the UFC have a roster, it's the same thing with Spartan. So, if you're an outstanding athlete in the elite category, you have an opportunity to be selected to be on the roster. It's going to be about 200 athletes strong in this new format. There's again, like the World Championship qualification spots that you were talking about, Matt. There's more spots available for US athletes than there are others around the world. But of course, with some brilliant athletes like, look at Janka Popova at the current Ultra World Championship, from Central Europe. There's some brilliant athletes outside the US, so the competition is definitely heating up. But the goal of this is to create an ability for elite athletes to kind of sort of exist off this sport. Eventually, I want every one of those 200 athletes to make a career out of doing this sport. So a full-time job. And then beyond that, we want every elite athlete on the pro roster to be driving a Ferrari. Then I know we've really made it as a sport, and I sort of say that with a smile, but that's the goal. Right. When we build this sport to that level, if
really fast, inefficiently powered race cars is what you want.
Sure, is what you think. I'm happy with the Tesla Roadster. If I was an elite athlete, I think it's a beautiful car.
Right,
it's a lot cheaper than
people that live in Boulder. Maybe they just want to have like a little Prius and they can get around town, or a Subaru.
Then they'll have a lot of spare cash.
Car of their choice is what you're saying. Great. So
exactly.
When will you announce who these athletes are?
Really shortly. So basically, we're working pretty hard day and night on getting all the contracts signed. You can imagine because we're 10xing the size of this pro roster, and it's now in more than 30 countries, representing athletes from more than 30 countries. It's a lot of contracts in one-on-one to go through. And you can imagine our legal team is kind of like pretty slammed, and so is my team. But I think in the next couple of weeks you're gonna see some of the announcements coming out, and there's some exciting people on that list for sure.
Will there be an A team and B team, or as some called it, a pro and JV team?
No. The pro roster is the pro roster. I enjoy watching UFC. We all are aware that Conor McGregor's contract with the UFC is a lot bigger than some of the up and coming first time fighters, and but they're all signed UFC athletes. But it's what happens behind the scenes with their contract that sort of determines the value of that arrangement, that deal.
So without asking for specifics, there will certainly be some racers who are given more money, more flights, or whatever it is, however you compensate them.
Yeah.
Various.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, there are athletes on the pro roster that do this full time. They make a full-time living out of this, and a very good one. It's not just kind of like straight by.
So let's say I was one of these top dudes, right? And I've not been on your team, and I've not been on your team before. right? Or even if I have. And you've obviously got sponsors that you're trying to work with, right? And that sort of roll that part of it. Hey, we work with Athletic Greens, or we work with 24-hour fitness. By being our athlete, can I still bring my own sponsors? Is there a no competing clause if it's in the same category? This is kind of the big boy stuff that I think I'm curious about.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there are different areas of sort of what's permissible and what's not. There are certain non-negotiables when you're a member of the pro roster. For example, when you're on the podium, you're wearing a Spartan branded piece of apparel. Most of our pros in the past have been wearing what we call a podium jersey. You'll notice that they've got their country flag and their name on there if you've seen the podiums. And this season, the entire pro roster will have jerseys awarded to them to wear, and there's certain room for athletes to bring on their own sponsors. Of course, the aim here isn't to restrict an athlete's ability to earn cash. It's to actually foster that. Because it's good for the sport, it's good for everybody. It's a feedback loop of success. So, if one of our athletes goes off and signs a massive footwear deal with a brand we don't currently have an association with, then it's a good thing for the athlete, and that already happens in the NFL, for example. Reebok were a sponsor of apparel in the NFL, but plenty of players are wearing Nike. So it's not something that we go out to create fragmentation around, and we try and create opportunities for our athletes with the sponsors we have. And there are some brilliant opportunities with our sponsors. So it's not so tough to figure out.
Well, I know that in 2018 or maybe even 2017, you sort of, and correct me if I'm wrong, because there hasn't been a lot of clarity. And again, I've been asking these questions for years, and either because it wasn't clear or communicate, whatever channels, like, let's not kick people under the bus, but like, how is this stuff working? And so my understanding in the past was you have sort of a roster. There's obviously, like, Kraft is your massive, like, they're a title sponsor, but if you've got, or Rakuten, but in the sort of the smaller ones, you would offer them a couple of members of the pro team. So Brave Soldier got offered, hey, who would you like us to represent? And I know Rhea did that, and she would wear their pants on the podium.
Yeah.
Is it still
Yokohama
Tire Flip? Is that still the case where we sort of offer up different sponsorships to athletes, or how does that?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Definitely works the same. But what we're trying to do is just expand that model out, right? So we want to provide as much ROI for our sponsors as possible, while at the same time giving athletes the ability to improve their profiles, earn money, and generally have a support function behind them. So it's kind of like it's a two-way thing where, yes, the answer to your question is it's the same, but it's actually increased.
Okay, if I'm not one of these 200 people, look at my notes here, I win a race, do I have to put on a Rakuten jersey on the podium?
You have to put on a Spartan finisher shirt on the podium. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Doesn't have to be.
But, I mean,
it has to be the shirt of the day, as it were.
The finisher shirt. Yeah. Well, the finisher shirt's branded Rakuten, so it's gonna. You're going to be wearing the correct thing if you're wearing the finisher shirt. But you have opportunities to you can wear a hat or another piece of apparel that has your sponsors on it. Obviously, there are some rules around certain things that aren't allowed on the podium. Competing brands and so on, just stuff that makes common sense, right? Or anything offensive. But
offensive is very open to interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but I mean, common sense, right? I mean, racist stuff or swear words.
I understand.
I understand. I don't wear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would, to me, it would be other than a race company. So you don't want somebody wearing a Tough Mudder shirt on your podium, but if they have a different branded shoe or supplement or what have you, that can be on their pants or headband or hat, just not the shirt. You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't shake your head because it's an audio format. You have to say. You're shaking.
Oh no, that's it.
I know you're getting tired.
No, it's not that. I get a bit of a delay on the feed sometimes. I'm sorry. That's exactly right. So I mean, the rule around the podium is that the athlete wears a Spartan brand, a Spartan official finisher shirt, which is handed to them. That's fine. We have our head official there, and quite often the race director there, and some staff working with athletes who are about to ascend the podium. So they will have a shirt put on. If they have a pro jersey, they of course would wear that. And then, around that, as you can see on any shot of the podium, go onto Facebook and take a look at race recaps in 2018. You'll see athletes wearing, hats with some sponsors on it, or maybe some leggings, or shoes and things like that. So that's how that works.
All right. Last item, I promise, is
no, it's fine. I'm good. It's the only good? Silences are for me. Is it? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm enjoying this. It's just that sometimes my audio has been cutting out. It's probably this Aussie Wi-Fi network.
So the last question then is Sunday Championship Day, and you and I did speak earlier a little bit about what that's about. So explain to the listeners why Championship Day is now Sunday only, and why Open Day is Saturday only for Tahoe this year.
Yeah, no problem. So there are a few points here. You mentioned open at the end, so I'll start there. We want to give open racers an ability to have more time on a course, to start at the sort of hallowed time of 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. We want to celebrate our open races at the World Championship, and to do that, we need to dedicate a whole day to it. So Saturday is all about our open races, and it'll just be open races. And then in the evening on Saturday, a massive party, lots of music, lots of food. There's going to be a celebrity race. Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Am I being invited to the celebrity race?
Oh, of course. Okay. Of course. You're at the front. Number 0001. And I've got some extra officials that are going to follow you around as well.
Fantastic.
And then on Sunday, okay, let's talk about Sunday. Basically, that is the championship day. That is the day for everybody that's gone through this system that we've spent an hour talking about, worked their butts off, training. Not only have they trained and performed to the point where they've made the gated heats of the World Championship, they've also understood this whole system. And for them, they will have a day celebrating the elite and age group side of the sport. So elites will start off the day on Sunday, which gives us some ability to really focus our broadcast on a clean course with a great build up over the weekend, and then age groupers will follow, and then on the morning, on the Sunday morning, we have a great breakfast, lots of giveaways and stuff in the festival. So open racers that are there will be able to enjoy that, and we made this decision because looking at our data, such a great number, the majority, in fact, of open races come from within driving distance of this race. So we feel there'll be a good crowd and a great atmosphere on a Sunday. Like I said, the media aspects just make a lot more sense, so that everybody who's not there can watch the race, and we can create some more celebration and sort of fanfare around the whole thing.
And the part you mentioned, which I hadn't quite thought of, is that most of the people there that want to compete are competing, and that the majority of the open racers live nearby. And so they'll come up and race on Saturday, and then if they choose to, stick around and come back for the fun stuff on Sunday. Yeah,
exactly. And, we want to make it really fun. If you're an open racer, like I said, you enjoy the course on Saturday, big party Saturday night, check out a celebrity race, listen to the music, do all that stuff. And then, Sunday morning, we want to make it really enjoyable for these people to, with their friends and families, to spend some time, watch the best of the best take off, and watch the challenge unfold in the festival on the big screens while having some good food and recovering from the day before and chatting and getting involved in all the great festival activities. And then we close off the day with the podium ceremony. So that's the thinking behind this.
What happens to the team race?
Team race, we're actually working on right now. It's possibly going to be held outside the US. We're just talking to various locations at the moment who want to host this race. We wanted to sort of separate it out so that the Sunday at Tahoe is just all about the Beast World Championship for elites and age groupers. And also we want to give the athletes that are representing their country some time to recover so they can really compete fresh and take on other countries with a sort of fully recovered body. It's tough for these athletes that race the Beast World Championship on Saturday, then turn around and smash it out all again across the super course. Yeah.
Is there an Ultra Beast, or Ultra as you're calling it, at Tahoe this year?
Yeah, there'll be an Ultra at Tahoe. Yep. And it'll be a qualifier for the Ultra World Championship as every Ultra is. So
will there be sort of two waves, like Ultra and Open? Like basically that's it, or sort of Elite and Open, and you can just pick to be.
Yeah, that's right. That's the only time elites will race. It'll be in the Ultra wave. Yeah.
All right. I think we've covered everything.
I hope so. I think that people have probably got lots more questions, and thanks for bearing with us as we sort of communicate this out. You can see how much content and how much stuff there is to talk about.
Right, and I haven't even asked. There's 10 other things I could ask you that I won't. So,
well, we do this more. We should do more of this. And if people don't mind listening to it, well, that's me. They love listening to you, mate. I'm not sure if they like listening to me, but if they do, I'm happy to come on and talk about anything and field questions and just work together with everybody so that everyone feels comfortable knowing how things work and can plan out a really fun, productive season.